The massive alien warship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling mountain. Its dark hull stretched for kilometers, casting shadows over entire cities as it moved toward the United Nations building in New York. Behind it, dozens more ships waited in orbit, their weapons trained on every major population center across the planet. Inside the UN Assembly Hall, world leaders sat frozen in their seats as holographic projectors activated without permission. The air shimmered, and suddenly the chamber filled with alien beings. Tall creatures with blue-scaled skin and 4 arms took positions around the room. Their leader, wearing robes that seemed to move on their own, stepped forward to the podium. "People of Earth," the alien spoke through a translation device that made his voice echo strangely. "I am Commander Vex of the Galactic Council. Your species has been summoned to answer for crimes against galactic law." The President of the United States, Maria Santos, stood slowly. Her hand shook slightly, but her voice remained steady. "What crimes? We barely made contact with your people 5 years ago. Expansion into forbidden zones. Development of dangerous weapons. Interference with protected worlds." Vex's 4 eyes glowed red as he spoke. "Your punishment will be decided by the full council." The hologram flickered, showing images of human space stations and ships being destroyed by alien forces. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as humanity's first steps into the galaxy were crushed in moments. "However," Vex continued, "the Council offers mercy. Submit to our judgment. Allow us to guide your development. Accept our protection and Earth will be spared." President Santos looked around the room at other world leaders. Fear filled their faces. The alien fleet above could turn their planet to ash in minutes. Everyone expected her to accept, to beg for mercy, to promise cooperation. Instead, she reached into her jacket and pulled out a simple piece of paper. "Commander Vex, I have humanity's response right here." The alien leader tilted his head, confused by her calm behavior. "You will submit to council authority?" "No." Santos placed the paper on the podium. "This is humanity's formal rejection of your council. We withdraw from all agreements. We want nothing from you." Silence filled the chamber. Vex's scales shifted from blue to deep purple, a sign of shock among his people. "You cannot refuse the council. No species has ever refused our guidance. Commander, humanity has existed for thousands of years without your guidance. We managed to reach space on our own. We'll continue just fine without you." Santos straightened her shoulders. "Please leave our planet immediately." "You have seen our fleet," Vex growled. "We could destroy you easily." "Yes, you could," Santos agreed. "But you won't. Why do you believe this?" Santos smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. "Because you need us more than we need you." Before Vex could respond, alarms began screaming throughout his ship. His communication officer, an insect-like being with multiple eyes, rushed forward. "Commander, we're receiving emergency signals from across the galaxy. The defense grid along the void border has gone completely dark." Vex's scales turned white with fear. The void border protected the galaxy from ancient enemies called the Devourers. Without the defense grid, those monsters could return and consume entire worlds. "How is this possible?" Vex demanded. "Sir, the grid was maintained by human technicians. When they withdrew from our agreements, they took all the access codes with them." More reports flooded in. Trade routes throughout the galaxy had shut down because they depended on human navigation systems. Mining operations had stopped because human engineers had designed the equipment. Even basic communication networks were failing because they used human-improved technology. President Santos watched the alien commander's growing panic with satisfaction. "Commander, humans have been quietly helping your civilization for 5 years. We improved your ships, your computers, your defenses. We did it because we wanted to be good neighbors. But you made yourselves indispensable," Vex whispered, understanding finally dawning. "We learned from history," Santos replied. "Every time humans met more powerful groups, we survived by making ourselves useful. We did the same with your council." The communication officer interrupted again. "Commander, we're getting reports of Devourer ships moving beyond the border. Without the human-maintained defenses, they could break through within days." Vex stared at President Santos with new understanding. Humanity hadn't built weapons to threaten the galaxy. They had made themselves so valuable that threatening them would cause galactic civilization to collapse. "What do you want?" Vex asked quietly. "Simple. Complete independence for humanity. No more council oversight. No more demands for submission. We'll continue to help with galactic defense and trade, but as equals, not subjects." The Council will never agree to such terms. Santos shrugged. Then the galaxy can defend itself against the Devourers without human help. Earth will be fine either way. As if to emphasize her point, new signals appeared on Vex's displays. Human ships were emerging from hidden positions throughout the solar system. Sleek vessels with designs unlike anything the Council had seen before surrounded the alien fleet. Impossible, Vex breathed. Our sensors showed no human military presence. Commander, you're looking at ships built with technology your people can't detect. Humans have been preparing for this conversation since the day we met your council. Santos walked closer to the alien leader. We hoped it would never be necessary, but we're always ready for disappointment. The human ships didn't move aggressively, but their very presence sent a clear message. Earth wasn't defenseless. Humanity had been building defenses in secret, while publicly cooperating with the Council. Vex's communication system erupted with urgent calls from across the galaxy. Council members were panicking as critical systems failed without human support. The carefully maintained peace that had lasted for centuries was crumbling in hours. Commander, President Santos said softly, humanity offers the galaxy a choice. Accept us as independent partners, and we'll help restore the systems we built. Continue trying to control us, and you'll face the Devourers alone. Vex looked at the paper on the podium, then at the displays showing chaos spreading across the galaxy. His people had come to Earth expecting to judge humanity. Instead, they had discovered that humans had quietly become the foundation holding galactic civilization together. I must contact the Council immediately, Vex said. Of course. But Commander, remember this. Santos picked up the paper. Humanity tried cooperation first. We wanted to be your allies. You chose to make us your problem instead. As the alien ships retreated to orbit, emergency signals continued flooding in from across the galaxy. The Council faced a choice that would reshape galactic politics forever. Accept humanity as an equal power, or watch their civilization crumble without the foundation humans had secretly provided. President Santos watched the alien fleet through the window, knowing that everything would change now. Humanity had revealed their true strength, and there would be no going back to the old relationships. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were far more dangerous as enemies than they had ever been as allies. Emergency sirens wailed across Council Station Prime as another star system went dark on the galactic map. The massive space station, home to representatives from 400 species, shook as ships desperately tried to dock with failing navigation systems. In the main command center, Admiral Kylo watched helplessly as red warning lights spread across the galaxy like a plague. Report, he barked at his communications officer, a tentacled being named Orin whose skin had turned pale with stress. Admiral, we've lost contact with 67 systems in the past hour. Trade ships are stranded between stars because their navigation computers have stopped working. Mining colonies are requesting emergency evacuation because their life support systems are failing. Kylo's clawed hands gripped the command console until the metal bent. How is this possible? These systems worked perfectly yesterday. Sir, they all used human-designed software. When humanity withdrew from our agreements, they took the access codes with them. Every system that depended on human updates is now reverting to older, slower versions. The main display showed the devastating scope of the crisis. Shipping routes that had moved goods across the galaxy in days now required weeks. Communication networks that connected distant worlds had become unreliable. Even basic services like water purification and air recycling were failing on stations that used human-improved technology. Council Leader Tharn burst into the command center, his crystalline body glowing with anger. Admiral, the outer colonies are in panic. Half of them are preparing to abandon their worlds rather than face potential system failures. What about our military response? Kylo asked. Can we force the humans to restore our systems? Force them with what? Tharn's voice cracked with frustration. Our fastest ships now take 3 times longer to reach Earth because they relied on human navigation improvements. By the time we could mount an assault, the outer colonies might already be dead. Orin suddenly straightened at his station, his tentacles writhing with excitement. Admiral, we're receiving a signal from the Void Border Monitoring Station. The main screen filled with the image of Station Commander Jax, a 4-armed being whose orange skin had turned gray with fear. Behind him, warning lights flashed urgently in the station's control room. Council Station Prime, we have a critical emergency. The Devourer containment field is fluctuating. Ancient enemy ships are approaching the barrier. Kylo felt his blood turn to ice. The Devourers were nightmares from the galaxy's past, creatures that consumed entire worlds and left nothing behind. They had been contained beyond the void border for 3,000 years by a network of powerful stations. How many ships? Kylo demanded. We count at least 20 vessels, Admiral. But sir, there's something else. The human technicians who maintained our defense systems disappeared 3 hours ago. They took all the control codes with them. Tharn's crystalline form began to crack with stress fractures. You mean we can't control our own defenses? Correct, Council Leader. The automated weapons that keep the Devourers contained are locked behind human security protocols. We're completely defenseless if they break through. The command center erupted in chaos as officers tried to contact other border stations. The reports that came back were all the same. Human staff had vanished from every critical position along the galaxy's most dangerous frontier. This is impossible, Admiral Kylo snarled. We trusted them with those positions because their psychology could handle the isolation. We never imagined they would abandon their posts. Admiral, Orin called out. I'm detecting massive energy signatures near the border. Something big is happening out there. Before anyone could respond, a new signal arrived. The screen filled with the face of Ambassador Marcus Kane, the human who had walked out of the council just days before. He sat calmly in what appeared to be a garden on Earth, showing no signs of stress despite the galactic crisis. Council Leader Tharn, Admiral Kylo, Kane said politely. I trust you're aware of the developing situation. Kane, you must restore our systems immediately, Tharn demanded. Billions of lives are at stake. I agree the situation is serious, Kane replied. However, humanity is no longer part of your council. Your crisis is not our responsibility. But people will die, Admiral Kylo shouted. Entire worlds could fall to the Devourers. Kane's expression didn't change. Admiral, people die every day across the galaxy. Worlds face threats constantly. Until 3 days ago, humanity helped address these problems because we were part of your community. You chose to end that relationship. We can negotiate, Tharn said desperately. Name your terms. Our terms were already stated. Complete independence for human space. No council oversight of our technology. Recognition of humanity's right to defend ourselves as we see fit. Impossible. No species has ever been granted such autonomy. Kane leaned forward slightly. Council Leader, your defense grid will fail completely within 6 hours. The Devourers will break through 12 hours after that. Your military response will take 4 days to reach the border, and your weapons are 60 years behind theirs. The brutal accuracy of Kane's timeline sent chills through everyone listening. He wasn't guessing about their capabilities. He knew exactly how helpless they were. However, Kane continued, humanity is prepared to offer assistance under the right circumstances. What circumstances? Admiral Kylo asked. Full acceptance of our independence terms. Signed agreements giving humanity sovereignty over all our claimed territories. And most importantly, a guarantee that the Council will never again attempt to judge human actions. Tharn's crystalline body flashed with outrage. You're holding the galaxy hostage. Council Leader, we're offering the galaxy salvation. Your people came to Earth with ships and weapons demanding submission. We responded by removing ourselves from your authority. The consequences of that decision are yours to bear. Suddenly, Oran's station erupted with alerts. Admiral, the Devourer ships are accelerating. They'll reach the containment barrier in 4 hours, not 6. That's impossible, Kylo protested. The barrier should hold for at least 12 hours, even without maintenance. Kane's slight smile appeared on the screen. Admiral, the barrier has been failing for weeks. Human technicians have been working around the clock to maintain it with emergency repairs. When we withdrew, those repairs stopped. The full scope of humanity's integration into galactic society was becoming clear. They hadn't just participated in civilization. They had become its secret foundation. Every critical system, every important defense, every technological advancement depended on human involvement. You planned this, Tharn accused. You made yourselves indispensable deliberately. Council Leader, humanity learned long ago that being useful is the best protection against being destroyed. We spent 5 years making ourselves valuable to your civilization. We hoped that value would earn us respect and partnership. Kane's expression hardened slightly. Instead, you decided to put us on trial for crimes we didn't commit. You forced us to choose between submission and independence. We chose independence. The screen showed new data from the border stations. Devourer ships were indeed approaching the barriers, their alien hulls pulsing with malevolent energy. Without human maintenance, the ancient defenses were failing faster than anyone had predicted. Time is running out, Kane observed. The galaxy faces a choice. Accept humanity as an equal partner, or face the consequences of treating us as subjects. As the transmission ended, Admiral Kylo and Council Leader Tharn stared at each other in horror. They had come to judge humanity and found themselves completely dependent on the species they had tried to control. The next few hours would determine whether galactic civilization survived, and that survival now rested entirely in human hands. The ancient enemy burst through the void border like demons emerging from hell. 23 devourer ships, each the size of a small moon, tore through the weakened containment field in explosions of dark energy that sent shockwaves across space. Their hulls, black as the void between stars, pulsed with veins of sickly green light that seemed to drain hope from anyone who looked upon them. On the bridge of the Council flagship Eternal Light, Fleet Commander Rex watched the tactical display with growing horror. The Devourer vessels moved with impossible grace for their size, flowing through space like living things rather than machines. Behind them, the containment barrier collapsed completely, leaving the gateway to the dark void wide open. All ships maintain formation, Rex ordered, though his voice betrayed his fear. Do not engage until we understand their intentions. His tactical officer, a spider-like being named Zill, looked up from her instruments with all 8 eyes wide with terror. Commander, they're heading directly for the Kepler colony. 3 billion inhabitants, sir. Rex felt his heart stop. Kepler was one of the galaxy's most populated systems, home to dozens of species who had never known war. The colony ships there couldn't evacuate in time, and the local defense force consisted of mining security vessels that would be useless against Devourer technology. How long until they reach Kepler? Rex asked. At current speed, 18 hours. But sir, historical records show Devourer ships can increase velocity far beyond our understanding. They could be there in 6 hours if they choose. The main communication system crackled to life, and Council Leader Tharn's face appeared on the screen. His crystalline features were fractured with stress, and his voice shook with barely controlled panic. Commander Rex, you must intercept those ships before they reach inhabited space. Use any force necessary. Council Leader, we have 12 heavy cruisers against 23 Devourer vessels. Our weapons are based on technology that failed against them 3,000 years ago. This isn't a battle, it's suicide. Then what do you suggest? Tharn demanded. Before Rex could answer, another signal arrived. Ambassador Marcus Kane appeared on a split screen, still sitting calmly in his Earth garden while chaos spread across the galaxy. Commander Rex, Council Leader Tharn, Kane said politely. I see you're facing some difficulties. Kane, you must help us, Tharn pleaded. The Devourers will destroy everything in their path. That does seem likely, Kane agreed. The Kepler system will probably be completely consumed within 24 hours. The surrounding colonies will follow within a week. Rex slammed his fist on the command console. You speak of billions of deaths as if discussing the weather. How can you be so calm? Kane's expression became slightly more serious. Commander, humanity has been monitoring Devourer activity for 30 years. We've studied their patterns, their technology, their weaknesses. We know exactly what they're capable of. Then you know how to stop them, Tharn said desperately. We know how we would stop them if we were still part of your council. However, as you've made clear, humanity is no longer your concern. Suddenly, Zill's instruments went wild. Commander, I'm detecting new ships entering the system. Unknown configuration, approaching from the direction of human space. The tactical display updated to show sleek vessels emerging from hyperspace. Their design was unlike anything in the Council databases, with hulls that seemed to bend light around them and engine signatures that barely registered on sensors. Human ships, Kane confirmed. The Earth Defense Force has been tracking the Devourer breakout for the past 6 hours. Rex counted the approaching vessels. 40 ships against 23 Devourers. The odds are better, but still not good enough. Commander, you're thinking in terms of conventional warfare, Kane replied. Humanity learned long ago that fighting the Devourers directly is pointless. They're not machines you can destroy with enough firepower. They're something else entirely. Then how do you propose to stop them? Kane's slight smile returned. We don't stop them, Commander. We remind them why they stayed beyond the border for 3,000 years. On the tactical display, the human ships began moving in patterns that defied military logic. Instead of forming battle lines or defensive formations, they spread out in what looked like a search pattern, as if looking for something in empty space. What are they doing? Tharn demanded. Activating systems that were placed along the border decades ago, Kane explained. Humanity has been maintaining more than just monitoring stations out there. The space around the Devourer ships suddenly lit up with energy signatures, unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Massive structures materialized from what had appeared to be empty void, ancient weapons that hummed with power beyond current understanding. Impossible, Rex whispered. Those look like the planet-killer weapons from the Great War. They were supposed to have been destroyed. The peace accords required their removal from inhabited space, Kane corrected. Humanity simply moved them very, very far from inhabited space. We've been maintaining them ever since. The ancient weapons, relics from humanity's first war against the Devourers millennia ago, came online with a sound that seemed to echo across space itself. Their targeting systems, updated with human technology, locked onto the approaching enemy fleet. You've had planet-killer weapons positioned beyond the border for decades? Tharn asked in shock. Council leader, the Devourers aren't just another enemy species. They're a force of cosmic destruction that consumed half the galaxy before they were stopped. Humanity took responsibility for ensuring they could never break free again. The Devourer ships suddenly slowed their advance, their alien intelligence recognizing the threat they faced. These weren't the primitive weapons they had fought thousands of years ago. These were the same planet killers but enhanced with human technology and powered by human determination. They're turning back, Syl reported with amazement. The Devourers are retreating to the border. Of course they are, Kane said. They're intelligent predators, not mindless monsters. They remember what those weapons did to their fleets in the ancient war. They're not interested in facing them again. Rex watched in awe as the ancient enemy withdrew, their massive ships disappearing back into the void beyond the galactic rim. The immediate crisis was over, but the implications were staggering. How long have you been prepared for this? Rex asked. Since the day humanity joined the galactic community, Kane replied. We studied the historical records. We learned about the Devourer threat. We realized that someday they would test the barriers again, and we made sure we would be ready. Council Leader Tharn's crystalline form had gone completely colorless. You've been the galaxy's secret guardians all this time. We've been the galaxy's insurance policy, Kane corrected. We hoped it would never be necessary, but humanity always prepares for the worst-case scenario. The ancient weapons powered down and faded back into stealth mode, invisible once again to conventional sensors. The human ships began withdrawing toward their own space, their mission apparently complete. The immediate threat is over, Kane announced. However, the Devourer probe was just that, a probe. They were testing our defenses. The real invasion will come later, and it will be much larger. What do you want for your continued protection? Tharn asked quietly. Kane's expression became serious. What we've always wanted, Council Leader. Recognition as equals. Partnership instead of submission. Respect instead of judgment. As the transmission ended, Rex and Tharn realized that the galaxy's balance of power had shifted permanently. Humanity wasn't asking to be protected anymore. They were offering protection, and that protection came with a price the Council was only beginning to understand. Deep in the bowels of Council Station Prime, emergency meetings had been running for 72 hours straight. Representatives from 400 species crowded into chambers designed for half their number, their voices creating a cacophony of panic and desperation. At the center of it all, High Chancellor Vale stood before a holographic display showing the galaxy's critical systems, most of them flashing red with failure warnings. Order! Order! Vale shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. The elderly leader of the Arcturus Federation had seen 3 centuries of galactic politics, but nothing had prepared her for this crisis. The massive display showed the brutal reality facing galactic civilization. Trade had collapsed by 60%. Communication networks were failing daily. Mining operations across 12 sectors had shut down completely. Worst of all, the defense grid protecting inhabited worlds was operating at less than 30% efficiency. Chancellor Vale called out Ambassador Reek of the Sirius Collective, his scaled face glistening with stress-induced secretions. My people are demanding answers. How did humanity become so integral to our civilization without anyone noticing? Before Vale could respond, the chamber's emergency alerts activated. The main screen shifted to show an incoming transmission from Earth, and Ambassador Marcus Kane's familiar face appeared before the assembled representatives. Honorable Chancellor, distinguished representatives, Kane began with his characteristic calm. I understand the Council is experiencing some difficulties. Kane, Vale said, her voice tight with exhaustion, the galaxy is on the brink of collapse. Billions are suffering because of your withdrawal. You must help us. Chancellor, humanity sympathizes with the current crisis. However, we must clarify something important. This isn't happening because we withdrew. This is happening because the Council chose to threaten us instead of working with us. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted accusations and demands, but Kane waited patiently for the noise to die down. The situation is quite simple, Kane continued. For 5 years, humanity has been quietly supporting galactic civilization. We improved your technology, maintained your defenses, and solved problems you didn't even know existed. We did this as partners, not subjects. Defense Minister Crone, a massive being with armor-like skin, stepped forward. Humanity signed agreements to follow Council authority. You violated those agreements. Minister Crone, we signed agreements as equals. When the Council decided to judge us like criminals, those agreements became void. We simply withdrew our cooperation. Chancellor Vale studied Kane's expression, searching for any sign of weakness or uncertainty. She found none. Ambassador, what will it take for humanity to restore the systems we depend on? The same thing we've been asking for since this crisis began. Full sovereignty for human space. No Council oversight of our technology or military development, and most importantly, a guarantee that humanity will never again be summoned to answer for our actions before this body. Impossible, Minister Crone declared. Those terms would make humanity a law unto themselves. Kane's slight smile appeared. Minister, humanity has always been a law unto ourselves. We simply pretended otherwise for diplomatic convenience. The main display suddenly updated with new information that sent shockwaves through the chamber. Intelligence reports showed human fleets moving throughout the galaxy, not toward Earth but toward critical infrastructure points that were failing without human maintenance. What are your ships doing? Vale demanded. Preventing complete collapse, Kane replied. Humanity may have withdrawn our official support, but we're not interested in watching billions die. Our ships are providing emergency assistance to worlds facing immediate catastrophe. Ambassador Reek's scales flushed with hope. Then you will restore our systems? We will prevent mass death and suffering, Kane corrected. There's a difference. Full restoration requires formal agreements recognizing humanity's new status. Chancellor Vale felt the weight of 400 species expectations crushing down on her. The Council faced an impossible choice: grant humanity unprecedented autonomy, or watch galactic civilization crumble. Ambassador, your terms essentially place humanity above Council authority. No species in our history has ever been granted such privileges. Chancellor, no species in your history has ever made themselves indispensable to galactic survival. Humanity didn't seek this position. We simply filled roles that needed filling and solved problems that needed solving. The truth of Kane's words hit the chamber like a physical blow. For 5 years, humanity had been quietly supporting every aspect of galactic life. They had volunteered for dangerous assignments, solved complex technical problems, and never asked for recognition or special treatment. Why? Vale asked quietly. Why did humanity make themselves so valuable to us? Kane's expression became more serious. Chancellor, humanity learned long ago that being useful is the best protection against being destroyed. Every time our species encountered more powerful groups, we survived by making ourselves indispensable. And if we refuse your terms, then humanity will continue to provide emergency assistance to prevent mass casualties. But galactic civilization as you know it will end. Your trade networks will never recover. Your technology will stagnate. Your defenses will remain vulnerable. Intelligence Director Nara, whose species communicated through color changes in their skin, approached the main console. Her skin had turned the deep purple of urgent concern. Chancellor, I've been analyzing human ship movements over the past week. They're not just providing emergency assistance. They're positioning themselves at every critical infrastructure point in the galaxy. Kane nodded approvingly. Director Nara is correct. Humanity has ships stationed at every major trade hub, defense platform, and communication relay. We're prepared to maintain basic galactic functions indefinitely. You're occupying our infrastructure, Minister Crone accused. We're protecting infrastructure that we built or improved, Kane corrected. There's a difference. These systems exist because of human innovation. We're simply ensuring they continue to function. Chancellor Vale realized the full scope of humanity's strategy. They hadn't just withdrawn from the Council. They had positioned themselves as the galaxy's essential service providers. Every critical system now depended on human ships and human crews. This is extortion, she said. Chancellor, this is insurance. Humanity spent 5 years building relationships and supporting galactic civilization. When you chose to threaten us, we simply withdrew our voluntary cooperation. The consequences you're experiencing are the result of your own decisions. The chamber fell silent as representatives grappled with the reality of their situation. Humanity had outmaneuvered them completely. They controlled the technology, maintained the defenses, and operated the infrastructure that held galactic civilization together. What guarantees do we have that humanity won't abuse this position? Vale asked. The same guarantee you've always had, Chancellor. Our actions over 5 years show that humanity is interested in cooperation, not domination. We want to be partners, not rulers. Kane leaned forward slightly. However, we will no longer accept being treated as subjects. The choice is yours. Work with us as equals or manage without us entirely. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. 400 species faced a decision that would reshape galactic politics forever. Accept humanity's demands and acknowledge their new status as the galaxy's protectors, or reject their terms and watch civilization collapse. Chancellor Vale looked around the chamber at the frightened faces of representatives who had come to understand that they were no longer in control of their own destiny. Humanity had saved them from themselves, but the price was accepting that they now lived under the protection of a species that had evolved beyond the need for their approval. 6 months later, the grand ceremony aboard Council Station Prime drew representatives from across the galaxy. The station's main assembly hall had been expanded to accommodate the largest gathering in galactic history. At the center of the chamber, a new section had been constructed, elevated above the traditional council seats and marked with symbols that represented not submission, but partnership. Ambassador Marcus Kane stood at the podium in this new section, no longer wearing the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. His formal attire marked him as humanity's sovereign representative, a title that had never existed before in galactic politics. Behind him, holographic displays showed the transformed state of galactic civilization. Esteemed representatives, Kane began, his voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. Today marks 6 months since the Reformation Accords were signed. I come before you to discuss the new realities our galaxy has embraced. Chancellor Vale, whose position had been enhanced rather than diminished by the new arrangements, gestured for Kane to continue. The past 6 months had seen the most rapid advancement in galactic civilization's history, but also the most profound shift in power dynamics. First, the matter of galactic defense. The Void Border Network has been completely upgraded with hybrid human council technology. The new systems can adapt to devourer tactics in real time while providing early warning capabilities that extend far beyond our galaxy's rim. Kane activated a holographic display showing the border region. Instead of the sparse monitoring stations that had existed before, a massive network of defensive platforms now protected every approach to inhabited space. The scale was breathtaking, representing technology and resources beyond what any single species could have provided. The cost of this network was substantial, but humanity considers galactic security a shared responsibility. We have absorbed the full expense as our contribution to the new partnership. Defense Minister Crone, whose initial hostility had transformed into grudging respect, stood to address the assembly. Sovereign Representative Kane, the new defensive capabilities have exceeded all projections. We've detected and turned back 3 separate devourer probes that would have gone unnoticed under the old system. Minister Crone raises an important point, Kane replied. The devourers have been testing our defenses regularly. They're intelligent predators always looking for weaknesses. The new network ensures they find none. Trade Director Vell, whose species had benefited enormously from human innovations, approached the central podium. Representative Kane, Trade efficiency has improved by 40% since the implementation of human navigation systems. However, some member species have raised concerns about dependency. Kane nodded thoughtfully. Director Vell, dependency is indeed a concern. That's why all shared technology includes full training programs for Council engineers. Humanity has no interest in maintaining permanent technological advantages. We want partners, not subjects. The statement sent murmurs through the chamber. Several species had attempted to reverse engineer human technology without permission, only to discover that the systems were designed to teach rather than hide their innovations. However, Kane continued, his tone becoming slightly more serious, we must address recent security concerns. 3 member species have attempted to sell copies of defensive technology to non-council entities. 2 others have tried to modify our systems for offensive capabilities. Intelligence Director Nara's skin shifted to deep red, indicating embarrassment. Representative Kane, those incidents were handled discreetly. How did you detect them so quickly? Director Nara, human technology includes built-in monitoring systems. We're always aware when our innovations are being misused or compromised. This isn't espionage, it's quality control. Kane activated another display showing recent incidents. The species attempting unauthorized sales have had their access to advanced systems temporarily suspended. Those attempting military modifications have been provided with legitimate defensive alternatives that meet their security needs. What about the weapons manufacturing facility that was reportedly destroyed? Chancellor Vale asked carefully. Not destroyed, Chancellor. Relocated. The entire operation and its workforce were moved to a system where they can continue their research under proper oversight. No lives were lost and their industrial capacity remains intact. The casual mention of relocating an entire space station with all its inhabitants demonstrated capabilities that still amazed the Council. Humanity operated on a technological level that seemed almost magical to other species. Sovereign Representative called out Ambassador Tex of the Outer Rim Coalition. Many of our worlds want to understand humanity's long-term intentions. Are we partners or protectorates? Kane was quiet for a moment, appearing to choose his words carefully. Ambassador Tex, humanity's intentions are the same as they've always been. We want to live in peace, explore the universe, and help our neighbors when possible. But your capabilities suggest you could dominate the galaxy if you chose, Tex pressed. Ambassador, humanity learned long ago that domination is inefficient. Cooperation produces better results with less effort. We have no interest in ruling other species. We're interested in working with them. Kane gestured to the displays around the chamber. The past 6 months have seen unprecedented cooperation between human and council scientists, medical advances that extend lifespans, communication systems that connect the most distant worlds, transportation networks that make trade faster and safer. All of which depend on human technology, noted Research Director Yax. All of which use human innovations combined with council expertise, Kane corrected. Director Yax, every advancement we've achieved has been a joint effort. Humanity provides new approaches. Council species provide application knowledge. Chancellor Vale stood to address a question that had been troubling many representatives. Sovereign Representative, humanity's withdrawal from council authority while maintaining membership benefits is unprecedented. How do we prevent other species from demanding similar arrangements? Kane smiled slightly. Chancellor, any species that can make themselves as valuable to galactic civilization as humanity has is welcome to negotiate similar terms. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for treatment appropriate to our contributions. The brutal honesty of the statement hit the chamber hard. Humanity had earned their special status through 5 years of essential service to galactic civilization. They weren't demanding privileges, they were claiming what they had built. What about future threats? Defense Minister Crone asked. Will humanity's protection continue indefinitely? Minister, humanity's commitment to galactic defense is permanent. However, that commitment is based on mutual respect and cooperation. As long as the Council honors our sovereignty, we'll honor our responsibilities to the galaxy. Kane's expression became more serious. But understand this. Humanity has evolved beyond the constraints of traditional galactic politics. Our technology, our capabilities, our understanding of the universe operate at levels that would disrupt the balance you've spent millennia creating. Are you threatening us? Chancellor Vale asked. Chancellor, I'm explaining why the current arrangement benefits everyone. Humanity remains part of your community while operating at a level that preserves stability for all species. We protect the galaxy without dominating it. Kane gestured to the chamber around them. This partnership allows galactic civilization to advance without losing its essential character. Everyone benefits, everyone contributes, everyone prospers. As the session concluded, representatives filed out with a new understanding of their place in the galaxy. They had gained protectors of unimaginable power, but at the cost of acknowledging that they were no longer the ultimate authority in their own civilization. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had made themselves indispensable to its survival, then withdrawn just far enough to maintain the illusion that other species still controlled their own destiny. The galaxy was safer, more prosperous, and more advanced than ever before, but everyone now understood that this prosperity existed under the quiet guardianship of a species that had grown beyond the need for equals, yet chose to maintain the fiction of partnership for everyone's benefit. The Council had learned too late that their judgment of humanity was meaningless. Humanity had already judged them, found them worthy of protection, and quietly assumed responsibility for their survival. In saving the galaxy from the Devourers, they had revealed themselves as the guardians who had been watching over galactic civilization all along.